We're going to talk about Plotinus today and how his philosophy explains the greater cosmology of reality. Now, one of the common questions that many philosophers and theologians face is how can an all good, all powerful being permit evil or anything bad to exist? And when we say bad or evil, this can be anything from an act of, let's say, killing someone to something like a birth defect, cancer, or diseases. And if there is a bad, it can only exist in relation to the good. And anything considered bad is ultimately just a absence of good, of love. And it's just that anything that is done in a bad or evil way is just something not reaching its full capacity to embody goodness. So let's say someone kills someone. Well, that was a bad, evil act, but their body itself was good. It was good and healthy enough to allow them to have the ability to take that action, irregardless of whether it was good or bad. And we can see this also shown with the full quote in the Divine Comedy, which is divine power made me, the supreme wisdom and the primal love. Nothing but the eternal and I last eternally. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. That is the full quote above the gate of hell. So we can see that the supreme wisdom and primal love is the divine, is the good. So every single part of hell is permitted to exist as an act of love. And some people might be confused about that, but I'll explain that later. And here's a quote from Plotinus. It says, "It is an virtue of unity that beings are beings. This is equally true of things whose existence is primal and who are in any degree to the number among beings. What could exist at all except as one thing? Deprived of unity, a thing ceases to be what it is called. A course, a flock, even a house and a ship demand unity. One house, one ship. Unity gone, neither remains. Thus, even continues magnitude could not exist without a inherent unity. Break them apart, and their very being is altered in the breach of unity." So, going back to a continuous magnitude, this entire quote is essentially saying that unity, all good and bad, must exist to provide context and a condition for the other part to be defined. So bad must exist for good to be defined, and good must exist for bad to be defined. This is what is known as the conditioned realm in Buddhism. And when he says magnitude, you can think of this as the different spheres of heaven and the different circles of hell. Each circle in hell, you are tortured in a worse way and for a longer period of time. So, just as you go up in the spheres of heaven, where your blissful existence lasts longer, there is a greater and greater magnitude as the level of unity increases, either united fully with the good or with the bad. And unity has different amounts, as was just said, but we can see this also in our own reality with a clock versus a cat. And we can see this with the efficient cause. So, what causes something to exist? With a clock, it would be a man made thing. So, its unity would be lesser than a cat, whose unity is something inherent to its existence. So, the more unity something has to it, the more real it is. And this is shown in humans as we are fully consciously aware of good and bad. We have knowledge of both good and evil, just how animals don't have that same awareness of either the future or the past, with the past and stagnation or regret being a, a type of bad in a sense because it's taking you out of the present moment. And this is also what causes you to worry and fear about the future because everything in your subconscious, which would be past trauma, is causing you to worry about the future. And that's also taking you out of the present moment. And the present moment is ultimately the only thing that exists. And we can also see this with an analogy that most people have to Plotinus's work, where it's a tiered fountain. So our world is the bottom tier, which would be soul in his terminology. This is the physical world, and everything in our reality is a fractured representation of a higher tier, which would be intellect, so forms. So there are forms and ideas that are more real in this higher tier, this higher dimension than our reality. And we can see this also shown in the Bible with a constant reiteration of you will be rewarded in heaven. It's more real, it's more, there's more unity, there's more substance than this conditioned realm. And the highest tier is the one, God, the good, the divine, the source of all of creation. So I hope this was interesting and helped you see things from a certain perspective. And also, if you catch my last video, this is what I meant when I said that even demons are inherently worthy of love because they are beings that are just not able to fully reach their full capacity of goodness. They are further away from divine, from source. So if something was truly wholly evil or bad, it simply couldn't exist. The fact that we exist in any capacity is proof that we are inherently good beings. So, yeah, I hope you found this video interesting, like I said, and be sure to leave a comment if you found anything interesting or want to ask me any question. Also, I've got a YouTube channel called Nick's Path on YouTube. Check it out.